Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going through some more projects that I think would be useful for you guys to build if you're beginners. I think, like last time, these projects cover a wider variety of topics, a wide variety of different fields within programming that I think if you can complete a lot of these, you'll be kind of more well-rounded and they'll definitely help you become a better programmer. So today we have 15 more of these kinds of projects that I recommend you build. They range from, easy to more difficult, and we'll just be going through them all. Now, again, you don't have to build all of them. You can pick and choose which ones to build, and also, you can add your own kind of features. You can remove your own features. These are just suggestions, and the scope of each project, depends on you. So before we get started, my name is John Vine. What we do on this channel is we talk about software engineering. I try to use my experience to help you guys achieve your goals of becoming full-time software developers. If you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe. Right now, around 90% of you guys are not currently subscribed to the channel. So if you like the video, guys, subscribe to the channel. It's that easy. It's free to do. Like the video as well, and it definitely helps me a lot. So now that you've subscribed, now we can talk about the first project that I think you guys should build. And this is a cool little project. It's a URL shortener. So you basically have to take a big URL and then kind of a big URL that's ugly that is not really pretty to look at, right? And what you have to do is create a new URL that redirects to it. And this new URL, it has to be very short, right? Hence a URL shortener, and has to look nicer, and it's basically a way to make URLs look a lot nicer. Now what you have to do, there's a couple of different things, that you can consider, right? You have to be able to send it to the proper URL. You have to check that, the URL that you're sending to actually exists before redirecting it. There's a ton of little different features you can add as well. You can add, tracking on each URL. So, if someone clicks on your URL that's shortened, you can track you can track that in a database, so you can kind of provide analytics on how many people are clicking, on the URL. And, there's a ton of different cool stuff you can do. And I think this is a nice, little project that teaches you a bit about, URL, how to redirect to different web pages, and, just basically how URL shorteners work. An example of this, if you guys want some ideas, is bit.ly. So, check it out and let me know if you guys like this project. I think it's a fun one. I think it's a good one. The next project that I think you guys should build is an MP3 player. Now, an MP3 player, there's a ton of different things that you're working with. So it's a really cool project to build. First of all, how do you even play audio, right? You have to look into that. You have to find different libraries. There's a lot of different libraries that work with audio. I know there's some really good ones in Python. Then, you might want to build a GUI. So literally a way to look through songs, to click play. Maybe you want the progress bar and the rewind, stuff like that as well. You might want to also add the functionality to add songs, to remove songs, and obviously play the songs, pause, rewind, all of that kind of stuff. So, it might seem like a simple project, but the scope of it is actually pretty huge. And there's just some different technologies in there that, you wouldn't regularly work with, right? You guys might never have worked with, an audio file before, and what it takes like to, play an audio file. How do you do that? Through code. And so I think it's a pretty awesome project to work on. And you can also add a ton of different features like, building playlists, so you can store songs in a different database based on the user. You can add songs to a playlist. So I think it's a really awesome project. An MP3 player covers a lot of things and could be a very useful side project for you. The third thing you guys should build is, take a website that you like. Any website. It can be very simple. It could be more complicated, like, it could be Facebook, or, it could just be, a simple blog. But take a website that you like and try to recreate it to the best of your ability. Now, this is a great way, one of the best ways to practice web development is by, recreating different websites. And, the best thing you can do when doing this is, start with a very simple implementation. So, make it just work, make the website, very bare bones. And then as you move forward, add different features and, really make it look like the website that you're cloning, right? I think this is a great way to just, practice building a simple website. And, if you start with a very, very basic website that you're just trying to recreate, I think it'll give you some awesome practice. You'll be able to build a website. You'll be able to say that you built a website. And as you go on and build more complex websites, there's a lot of different things that you can work with, right? You can, like, if you try and rebuild kind of like Airbnb, there's a ton of different stuff you're working with. So I think redesigning and recreating an existing website is an awesome side project. Now the next project is a very, very basic one. It's random number generator. So this one is super basic. You're working with, just simple input, output. You can create a user interface for this if you want. You can make this on the terminal, on the command line, does not matter. But basically what you want it to do is generate a random number, right? If you give it, you can make it just be a random number, or you can give it a range, say between 1 and 100, create a random number. And so, it's super easy, super basic, but just something to get the ball rolling, and definitely a great place to start if you've never worked. If you're a complete beginner, building a simple number generator is an awesome project. It teaches you a lot about, input, output, and really builds your confidence. Now, the next project is a bit more vague, but I think it's definitely something that a lot of you guys should try to do. And what it is to contribute to an open source project, right? Find some kind of project on GitHub that you like, that uses some tech that you like. Go into its open issues and try to fix a bug and submit a pull request. It could be as basic as fixing a line in the README, but that experience of contributing to an open source project is a great experience to go through, right? You're cloning a repository, you're committing, you're updating a repository, then you're making a pull request. You're going to go through a little code review, a little back and forth, because it's probably not going to get accepted right away. So you'll be able to go back and forth and then merge it. And that kind of experience is basically a full-time software engineering job. And that's like a simulation, kind of a test run of what a real job would be like if you were a full-time software developer. So it's pretty hard to actually contribute and get accepted and get a pull request merged. It's actually pretty difficult to do that, especially on more well-known repositories. So if you can do that, guys, great experience, a great practice. You can there's a ton of different languages, technologies you can work with. So you can work on whatever you want. But I think a good little project. Try to find a side project that you like, an open source project, and try to contribute to it. If you guys can do it, that would be amazing. So now we have an easier project again, a more simple project. This one is basically just to try and create a drop-down menu. Try to implement a drop-down menu on either a website that you already have, or just try to build a new one, and add a drop-down menu there. And what you basically want to do is you want to be able to click on the element, and then a certain number of things will drop down, right? And then when you click on each one, it'll either redirect you to a different page, or show a different pop-up, or whatever it may be, but each one serves a different function. And this is a pretty simple thing to it seems like a pretty simple thing to implement to a website, but it's a bit tricky, especially if you've never worked with front-end development before. It could be a bit tricky, and I just think it's a great thing to build, because every website has a drop-down menu. It's great practice. You'll be able to have this kind of tool under your belt if you want to become a front-end developer. And it's an easy place to start with for beginners, and I think it's a great project. Projects can never be too easy, right? And going ahead with some more simple projects, the next project I think you guys should build is a number guessing game, kind of, right? It's a very simple implementation. You basically, the program has a number that it generates by itself, and then you have the job of guessing the numbers. So if the program would generate 50, I would guess 100, and then it would tell me, okay, my number is lower than 100, and then you would guess 30, and it'd be like, okay, higher than 30, and then eventually you want to be able to guess the number. And here it starts off as a very simple implementation. So just input, output, you can just make it in the terminal. It doesn't even have to have a GUI. It could just be in the command line. But if you want to go for the extra mile, you can do it in a GUI, and you can also add different features to it. You can add like a high score list of like lowest amount of guesses to get to the number. And so it's just a simple project to get you familiar with coding, to get you working with input, and to just kind of get the ball rolling, guys. I can't stress this enough. A lot of people with their first project, when they want to learn how to code, they're like, okay, let's do it. They pick a side project that is way too complicated for them. And I think that a very important thing is to start off in a very simple place. That's why I kind of mixed and matched these projects so that there's something in there for everyone. Now, the next project that I think you guys should build that is great practice, especially if you want to get more involved with back-end development. I think you should, you know, build your own kind of endpoint. Build an endpoint that does whatever you want it to do. It could be a super simple one, or it could be a complicated one. But what I want you to do is to run it locally and then be able to hit the endpoint, you know, using localhost. I think if you can get that working, right? So like, for example, you can do like a get request where it just returns, you know, a string that says, congratulations, right? If you can get something like that working, and then you can use a tool like Postman or like curl to actually hit the endpoint, and then you get a response, you know, I think that is great practice. And then you kind of, and then you'll kind of want to work with, you know, different, you'll kind of want to keep going at that point. At least that's a kind of experience that I had. I kind of wanted to build more complex endpoints. And you know, this is basically this is what backend development is like. It's, you know, you're creating endpoints, you're connecting to databases, and you can make this as complex as you want. Again, right? You can take these endpoints and eventually actually deploy them on a server. You can deploy them on AWS or like Azure or whatever you want, and then actually, you know, be able to hit them on a live server. You can also start implementing them with third-party APIs. So you can do different things. There's a ton of different projects, but I think, you know, for the first step, getting a locally running endpoint to just like return a string, if you guys can do that, that's a great place to start. And then, you know, build from there and go crazy. Do whatever you can imagine, right? Now the next project is sick. This is a really great project that I think you guys should build, and it's a meme generator, right? You basically, you upload a picture, you add some text, and then you can download it. And it creates, you know, the meme for you. Now, I think this is a great project. You know, again, like before, like kind of similar to the MP3 player. You know, you're working with audio, sorry, not audio files, with, you know, JPEGs or PNGs, whatever it is, image files. You're adding text, so you're manipulating the files using code. Then you're downloading. You know, how do you download? Maybe you have to download the picture, or maybe share it with a link. You can add different things like commenting on different memes that people generated, and upvoting and sharing them. And so there's a ton of stuff you can do here. But I think for a basic implementation, what you guys should build is kind of just like, you know, the ability to create a meme from a picture and some text, and just, you know, create a picture, right? I think that's, you know, pretty complex. Working with pictures, working with audio, this kind of stuff is like a bit more niche, right? So it'll be new stuff for you guys, and I think it's a great little project to build. So the next project is also, you know, pretty, it's nothing crazy. It's just an alarm clock. What you want to do is have something like an audio or visual thing, a signal to kind of get your attention at a certain time of the day. And now, you know, while an alarm clock can seem simple, there's a couple things you have to consider, right? It has to activate at a certain time of day. So what that means is you have to be checking every second, or not every second, but like at least every minute, right? Is there an alarm set now? Is there an alarm set now? Is there an alarm set now? So, you know, how do you do that? How do you set up this kind of job, right, to run? You also have to be able to, you know, create a new time, to edit an existing time, to delete an existing time that, you know, you don't want the alarm to go off at. And so there's a couple of different things. You know, it's not as simple as it might seem, and I think it's a good project for you guys to practice, you know, this idea of, you know, checking all the time, right? Like using cron jobs maybe. So I think alarm clock is an awesome project for you. And the next project I think you guys should build is, you know, a simple kind of weather app. This will give you guys experience working with, number one, you know, real-time data that's constantly being updated. Number two, it'll give you experience working with third-party APIs, right? You're gonna have to get this weather data from somewhere. And not only that, but you're gonna have to update it constantly. You might wanna, you know, store different types of data. So, you know, you might wanna store today's weather, the weather for the upcoming week, then the weather for the upcoming 14 days. You want to, you know, maybe you want the option to switch from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So there's a ton of different stuff. Maybe you want the option to search for different cities and different countries. So yeah, so like you can tell, it slowly unravels and becomes a big project. But, you know, as a basic implementation, maybe what you want is like you type in a city, and then it returns you the weather right now, like just the weather right now and the number, right? So you know, start small, build it up. But a weather project, another great project that gives you a bit of different type of practice. Now the next project is a bit more difficult. And what it is to implement an encryption or a decryption algorithm. Now this kind of gives you practice in a completely different area in like cryptography. And if you can implement an encryption algorithm, I think that's great. It gives you great practice. This gives you a lot of valuable knowledge. Knowing how to encrypt certain data and how to ensure that certain data is being passed through in a private and secure manner is always going to be valuable, because everyone wants their data to be private. So wherever you're going to be working, if you know and have experience working with encryption, working with decryption, it's always a positive thing. So implementing an encryption algorithm is a great little side project that can be hard. It can be simple if you want to implement a very simple algorithm. But any kind of one of these helps. And being able to encrypt and decrypt is a great little exercise. Now the next project is actually one of my favorites, and I think you guys will also appreciate working with videos again. And this project is a YouTube downloader. So you want to be able to download video and audio from YouTube, right? Either MP3 or MP4 files. You give it a link and it downloads. Like right here again, there's a couple of things you have to work with: audio files, video files, how to download them, how you actually download them from the internet, and then how to store them on your computer in a way that you can actually play them. Different quality, how to download it in different qualities. So yeah, there's a lot of different stuff here, and I'm sure that you guys haven't worked with this kind of technology before. So this is a great project. Might be a bit more difficult than the rest. But definitely something that's worth building. And now these last two projects are a bit more fun. This next project is actually just Battleship. I think if you guys build games, I think it's a great side project, and it gives you great practice, with logic, great practice building a user interface, and just great practice doing things that are a bit less common, right? That you're going to be practicing a bit less. Building a video game is completely different logic-wise, and just technology-wise. Building a game is different than building like an app or an endpoint, right? The code is completely different, and there's a lot of different stuff you have to consider when building a game, right? Like for example, with Battleship, you have to store the ships on a 2x2 grid, and determine what is a valid move, what is an invalid move, and then where you can place the boats, where you can shoot, where you've already shot. So there's a lot of little things, and if you can build Battleship and then play with your friends, that sounds like a good time to me. And the last project is a project that I've built in the past that I think they make every computer science student build this at some point, and it's a Sudoku Solver. So basically you give it a Sudoku board with some filled in squares, and it solves the rest. Now this is great, algorithm practice, and it's a different type of challenge for you. Maybe this is more of like an interview style technical challenge, but I think this is relatively difficult, and there's definitely ways to build a more optimal solution. So I think that start off with this project. If you decide to build it, start off with a very simple implementation, and build from there. And also maybe start off with like a 3x3 grid instead of a more 9x9, like a full Sudoku board, right? So there's a couple of different things you're practicing here, like recursion and stuff like that. And I think a Sudoku solver, I think there's a reason why a lot of people build this project when they're learning how to code, because it does teach you a lot of good fundamental topics of computer science. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you guys build some of these projects. I really do think there's some good ones in here, and it really does cover, like I said, a couple of different topics. And if you can build a couple of these, it'll give you a decent amount of experience using different technologies. So really do try to build a couple of these. And if you don't build a couple of these, try to build something else. But basically, I want you guys to build projects. I want to encourage you guys to build projects and to actually apply what you're learning, in real code as often as possible. Do it every day. You should be coding every day, and you'll be successful. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you have any more ideas for side projects, I would love to hear them. If you like the video, feel free to like it and subscribe to the channel. Again, 90% of you guys are not subscribed right now, so every subscription helps. As always, guys, take it easy and enjoy your day. Peace out.